Well, with these two pieces, all the pipe that I cut off camera, I spared you guys. That should be everything that I need to get done what I want to get done today. And we'll need this guy. Oh, did I mention we're working on the loading alley? Well, we're working on the loading alley. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. Well, maybe you can tell, maybe you can't, but it's threatening to rain. It's sprinkling a little bit. It's nothing bad now, but I'm trying to determine if it's gonna get worse or not. It looks like to the south of me it is raining. So I guess what I'm saying is we might change plans here if it starts raining too much. I don't want to be welding in that. That seems dangerous. But there's other stuff I can do back at the shop if that's what we have to end up doing. For the moment, it's just spitting a little bit, so I guess it's just kind of a race against the weather, see how much I can get done. Well, the welding is all done. The weather's still holding out. In fact, I think we're gonna make it through until the end of the afternoon. There's really not anything of note here, you know, we're just hanging pipe. The only thing that I thought that I would point out is that down here where the pipe meets up onto the square tube, instead of landing the pipe right in the middle of the tube, which is kind of like what you just feel like you should do, I moved the pipe over to the edge of the post so that when the cattle are walking up this alleyway, there's not a hard edge here that they can bump themselves on, possibly bruise themselves. But other than that, nothing too fancy here. So these two sections that are now done is what I really wanted to get finished, because once I close the bunk feeder gate, then this makes a secure pen. Like, I could put animals in here and they wouldn't get out, except for the fact that this gate is not done yet. It's just sitting here tied against the other side of the tub. And this kind of gets me into what those pieces that I made back in the shop at the beginning of the video, they're going to be used here to hang this gate. First, I need to go round up some blocks and get the gate lifted up to the height that I want it. And then I've got to do some modification to the hinges here. You see, the problem is that these gates, I think, were made to mount to wooden posts. These gates are really old. But if I try to mount them up to the oil pipe post like it is here, you're going to have this big tab sticking out. That's going to be a perfect place for cattle to hurt themselves, cut themselves, and we obviously don't want that. So what I'm going to do is cut these tabs off and then use those pieces to weld to the hinge and the post to locate the gate. If it doesn't make sense, just watch. Actually, even if it does make sense, keep watching. This guy is about the right size. We'll find out. That's what we needed. Try with this. I think that looks pretty good right there. You know, I have to tell you, I can't remember a time in my life that this gate was not dragging on the ground where you had to like lift it up in order to open or close it. So it's very exciting to me that this is going to be fixed now. I know it's kind of a dumb thing to get excited about, but I open and close this gate all the time and it's going to be really nice now. Cut these tabs off. You need to just get them off to the side, and then I brought the grinder with the cutoff wheel. I'll just have to zip them off of there. Looks good to me. Let's go ahead and finish welding those hinges. Got my chipping hammer, but I think yeah, those will be all right. They'll be all right till they break. Oh, just look at that. It's not even on the ground or anything. Well, that makes me happy. This is something that has needed to be done for, I can't even remember when. And I'm sure that a lot of you are wondering why I had to make these little brackets. Why not just weld that hinge piece directly to the post? And I could have done that. By doing it this way, I spread out the load that the gate is going to apply to these hinges into two different places that are far away from each other. And that'll just kind of help even things out and prevent this from cracking. Also, in the event that this gate needs to be replaced, because this is one that every so often they attempt to jump over. You probably won't be able to tell, but it's already got a little twist in it. See, if I push it like that, it straightens out. And you can see how the handle is bent out right here. That's from a cow trying to jump over it several years ago. It's straight enough that it still works fine, but let's just say somebody decides to jump over it and it's not straight enough. Well, now it's really easy for me to come back in here and just cut this off on the flat bar, and then I can weld a new hinge on there with with relatively little work beyond that. Of course, the hope is now that the gate is so tall, I don't think anybody's going to try to jump over it. Before, when it was only like 4 feet off the ground, I think a lot of them figured they could make it, but now this is going to be a little bit more of an intimidating sight for them. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure that I'm 100% pleased with this. It does kind of hang the gate out a ways. I'm not sure if I like that, but it accomplishes what I really need it to do, and that is make a relatively smooth surface here so that if a cow is rubbing up against this fence as she's walking into the trailer, she's not going to hurt herself. It's been the challenge adapting these old Powder River gates to the steel posts. You can see what I did with this one, and this works because of the direction of travel of the cows and the fact that this was going on a 4-inch square post. But I was just able to take this little piece of channel iron and make a bracket so that the gate is still bolt on. So next job to really be done down here is I need to make some sort of a latch on this post for that gate so that when we're loading, I don't have to worry about this gate getting pushed open, and when I've got the steers in here eating, I don't have to worry about them. But quite honestly, and I shouldn't even say it, the latch is not a huge priority because, you know, I can just tie that closed with hay twine. No, the bigger priority is getting this gate, the little gate that's gonna have to go here. I need to get that done. I think I'll build it back in the shop, and I should be able to pretty much make everything and then just weld the hinges onto this post. But we'll probably worry about that tomorrow. It's the next day now. It's a beautiful day, but I'm gonna be working in the shop at least for this morning. And the goal this morning is to get that alley gate built. Shouldn't take too long, but you know how these things are, so let's get to it. I have to tell you, retractable cord reels and hose reels have really changed my life. The alley gate that I'm making is 32 inches wide by 48 and 5/8 inches tall. Why the random measurement on the height? Well, the piece of square tubing that I had, if I cut it perfectly in half, thus eliminating any waste, then that's what the height came out to be. So that's what we're going with. Something like this that I want to stay pretty square, or like really square. What I'll do on these joints is just tack the corners, and then I'll make another L-shaped piece like this, just tack the corners, and then I'll put the two L-shaped pieces together, tack those corners, and at that point it should pretty well hold itself in shape. With a little bit of preparation and foresight and a ton of C-clamps, obviously, we end up with a rectangle that has perfect 90-degree corners all the way around. And I don't really have a good way to measure twist, but my eye says it looks pretty good. Should be 28 inches inside, and hey, look at that, it is. Got all my marks laid out here for the crossbars. I just want these to be evenly spaced up the length of the gate. Now I need to figure out what pieces of metal to use to weld in there. And originally, I had thought about using this piece of 1.25" pipe. I bought that for the bale unroller. I only needed a little bit for that project, so that's all left over. But then I got to looking in my scrap pile here, and I've got 3 1.5" pipes that will fit in here perfectly with minimal waste. So I think these are what I'm going to use. They're a little bit bigger, which means they'll be a little bit stronger and a little bit heavier, but in this application, weight's not really a concern. So I think this is the way to go. Well, it's starting to look like a gate, but there are a few more features that I need to add before I can go ahead and finish welding this thing out. The first is some sort of a catch. The idea for this gate, if you're unclear, is that it'll be held open in the alleyway, and when the cattle walk in and they pass that gate, I want to be able to close it back behind them, so that if they decide to back up instead of getting to the trailer, that they will just back up against this gate, it'll stop them, and they won't be able to get out of the loading alley. Now, because of that, we need some pretty heavy-duty stops on this gate, because it'll be taking the full force of a cow, or possibly a couple of cows, and we don't want it to bend or, heaven forbid, break. So what I have cut out to do this job are these pieces of 2x4 quarter wall rectangular tubing. These will weld on the side of the gate here somewhere. I got to figure out where they need to go so that they don't hit the pipes on the existing alley fence. And when this gate is closed, these will catch the post, and this should be plenty strong enough to do what I need it to do. The other thing, of course, is a hinge, which should be pretty basic for this setup, and when we get to that, we'll get to that. First thing, maybe the most important thing, is to weld some caps on this rectangular tubing. Otherwise, we would just have this open end here, which would be a perfect place for wasps to get in there and make a nest. If we cap that off, it won't hopefully be a problem. Hot. Well, if my calculations are right, this should go about right here. The nuts that I'm using here are not nylocks, but they are lock nuts. Basically the end of the nut's kind of bent in so it gets in a bind with the thread and makes it so it won't vibrate loose. This will be nice in this application because I can dial in how free I want this gate to swing. Honestly, I probably don't want it to really swing that freely. I kind of want it to stay wherever I leave it. So once I get the hinges welded onto the post, then we can get that set up and dialed in. But I think this gate is pretty much done. Of course, I, in my head thought that I was gonna be able to get this welded up today, but it took a little bit longer to build than I thought it would. But it came out good. I think this is gonna do the trick just like I need it to. But I think that's as far as we're gonna get in this one. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.